Welcome back to A-Files. The Arvada Center's galleries bring in more than a dozen exhibits each year, and all this month here in the lower gallery, you can catch a distinctive show that actually features the work of two artists who found common ground in their creations. We join them as they installed the show and as they shared it with others. It's called Residual Memory. Side by side, the works of these two local artists at first seem very different.
So we have a lot of people that ask us, gosh, why would you two show together?
But a stroll through the gallery reveals works of art that seem at home together.
It's funny to see how people feel that too. There's a harmony between our work, even though it's very different.
We've just had a really close bond in how we work, how we see life, how we deal with things.
They first met on the internet through mutual friends, later met in person and realized they both work well off words. They'll settle on a phrase or group of words on which to base their creations, then go their separate ways. Later, the compatibility of their pieces often surprises even them.
We go off on our own different tangents, and then in the end when we come back, we're like, oh, it works, it always works.
We totally didn't discuss it. And so there's always that synchronicity that happens.
It happened again with the show Residual Memory.
He's got a lot of sepia tone influence in the pieces that he's done for this show. I decided to use only rust and bisque clay.
They've been showing together for several years. In this exhibit, Jimmy's work features photography-based art centering around the toy action figures of his youth, while Marie's focuses on ceramic works and found objects reminiscent of growing up on Long Island surrounded by water. Creating the objects for an exhibit like this is only the beginning. Deciding how to display them is the next step.
Where do you put it? How much room do you give around it? What piece works best with another piece?
Putting their critical eyes on getting the lighting just right, the works hung straight, and installing finishing touches, such as a river made of slip or liquid clay that's left to dry in place, the artists say they hope to create a space where others will find themselves.
You know, and that's, I think, what most artists hope for, especially if you work in a narrative nature. Not that this is my story and it's the only one. I want my work to be, this is my story and what's yours.
Jimmy says he comes from a family of artists and has been at it for 30 years now himself. He says art is his life's passion, and the Arvada Center figures in his creativity too.
I just think back to when I was 19 and walking through this gallery and thinking, oh my gosh, that would be just amazing someday to show here. And then all of a sudden, here I am.
Marie's creative flair took a serious turn following the birth of her second child in 1990 and had her first clay piece fired through the Arvada Center in 1995.
So the Arvada Center is kind of home. You know, it's really where things started for me.
Jimmy began working on this collection in 1999. It was shown in Europe then. The largest piece in this show is about 15 by 4 feet.
But one of my favorite is the one behind me, actually. The piece is called Learning to Walk. And for me, it's just because of the specific experience in my life of just being led along and helped along and in many different ways. And so sometimes pushed.
The creative process too involves many steps. For Jimmy, it begins with 1,000 or more sketches.
Then I take the sketches, I'll find the right dolls, I'll paint backgrounds, do drawings, etc. for the backgrounds. I photograph those, take those into the computer, and with a large drawing tablet, I go in and I do a lot of hand coloring. With the idea of memories, I wanted them to serve more as documents like photographs.
Marie's collection takes her back to her roots in Long Island, her memories of the ocean, and her transition to Colorado in 1977.
And I think it's important to honor those experiences as well and understand how they make you the whole person you are today by the things that happen to you throughout your life.
Marie, who lives here in Arvada, says she hand builds her pieces and puts her color and finishing work on after the piece is fired.
Basically everything in here is either bisque clay, which is a white clay, or rusted clay, which has actually been rusted because it's been surfaced with iron and then rusted with chemical. But I don't work in a realistic manner. So I more so, really stylize my figures or simplify them, because I don't want it to be that I'm recreating any particular person, but I just want to put ourselves in the place of the artwork as, human beings.
I think people will be really surprised when they see the entire exhibit of how they do work together and at the same time stand alone.
Their show, Residual Memory, is free and will be in the lower gallery of the Arvada Center through April 1st.